Sensei Hoover, and he is going to share another reality-based self-defense scenario for us to learn from so that we can defend ourselves not just in the dojo with our physical defense skills, but out in the world with all sorts of self-defense. Sensei Hoover.
Yeah, I mean, all these things come back to being in a trade where I was as a private investigator still am today, and then fast forward, here we are today in the karate school talking about how these two things blend. One of the things that I encountered many times was awareness of where my back was. This is for everybody. Always trying to figure out who was behind me, especially with a hostile termination or some of the situations. And this one in particular was a stolen car. So we tracked it down. I had my other detective with me. He was with me, but we had two different vehicles at the time.
Okay.
And so the idea was to approach the house, get the vehicle back, and see if we could do this under terms. I was working for, again, a client. Got to the house, knocked on the door, and my detective who was assisting me was in another car and back up behind the house. As the door opened up, I greeted myself. I said, hey, this is Tim Hoover. I'm a private investigator trying to get the car back here. You know, we had a situation. And actually, he was very open to doing that. It was in a bad part of town. And so I assumed that I would get my back against the wall. And so as I maneuvered around and put the subject in front of me, my back was against the door of the house. So as we're talking about getting the keys, getting this car, and removing the issue, all of a sudden, the door behind me opens up, and this guy comes out, and he's a big dude. And I thought, wow, am I in a bad situation right now? I'm cornered. I did not think there was anybody that was going to come out that door, but sure enough, another person did. It worked out. It was all good. But when I walked away and got the car and resolved the situation, I realized that I made a major mistake, assuming that nobody else was in that house.
Right.
So, I mean, that's my world, and I deal with it. But we all can take a step in understanding that always know where your back is. Simple thing that most cops do is you always hear the story where they're always at a restaurant. They're always going to get a seat that their back is against a brick wall, and they're looking towards the door or the entry of that particular restaurant.
Right.
And it sounds kind of old school, but it's kind of really not. So what's at your back door right now? What's at behind you?
Well, I have a door, but it's locked.
The door, what's the next door? You hope it's locked.
I hope it's locked. That's true. I can't assume it.
And again, I'm not trying to put everybody in a panic situation here and walk around kind of paranoid, but I'm just saying, over your period of time when you're out and about and in the public, especially if you're in a situation where you're going to be there for a few minutes or whatever in a conversation, just do a 360. Spin around and take a look at where everything is, what's behind you. Be aware as to who's behind your back, right?
Yeah. I think that's a great one for all ages, too. It's funny you bring it up because having grown up at Hoover Karate, I remember hearing that as a kid. And so when I went off to college and in high school and stuff, I would keep that in mind, too. Going out to a restaurant or just walking around campus, you always know what's behind you. You always put your back up against something solid or something that people aren't going to come through.
Exactly.
And so I think a lot of people can take from that and apply it right away.
They can. They click, boom, now fast forward. I'm in the martial arts school teaching all different age groups, and it's something that we talk about all the time, being more aware of yourself and your surroundings, period.
Absolutely. Let's try it out.
So what we're talking about here is being attacked from the back, and it's a very, very serious thing we need all to look at because our awareness level is kind of down because we have this thing called a cell phone. The worst thing in the world is to be looking at your cell phone with your head down. Number one, you have bad posture. Number two, you're focusing on something else. And I'm going to say most of us do it, including myself, but we take away our overall awareness, our 360, so to speak, of what's behind us. Before you know it, somebody's up on your back and it's too late. So once you get rid, especially if you're going into a place of business or if it's dark out, that cell phone has to disappear. It has to be close by just in case you want to dial 911, but it has to be close by and your head needs to be up and you, again, need to be showing good posture and the ability to do a 360 and look around, especially when you sense something or you hear something. So mistake number one is looking at your cell phone. Mistake number two is your head down. All your awarenesses are pretty much shut off. Mistake number three is it's too late. So let's role play that for you.
There you go.
So the subject comes out, opens up the door, and she's grabbing the door and the focus is still on the cell phone. By the time she turns around, it's too late. Remind yourself about this stuff every day when you walk into business, even at your own home. Get rid of the cell phone. Make sure your head is up rather than down. All these mistakes are made 100 times a day. Subject comes out, doesn't even hear anything, the grab is made, and it's now too late. We're going to role play again the right thing to do, and the right response. So what's going to happen here is she's going to have the cell phone close by in her pocket, handy, and she's going to have her head up, and she's going to be walking, and she's going to hear the guy come out of the truck, and as he comes out to approach, she already sees him with distance there, boom, front kick, and then the cell phone goes into the throat, and then runs and gets out of there. So now all of a sudden the cell phone doesn't become a disadvantage, it becomes an advantage. Think about it. Have the cell phone as a weapon, into the throat, into the face. I have that awareness, that 360 all the way around you. Use your senses, your sight, hearing, your ability to turn, and having the space to be reacting before it is too late.
Come out, I see you.
So the idea, guys, is to keep it simple and keep it safe. And memory is, again, 2 to 3 ideas and concepts about getting you out of a bad situation, not complicating the brain in a situation that is increasingly stressful. Stress takes away from the thought process of making good decisions. Just recently we started doing what's called a scramble drill inside the dojo, where everybody just runs and tries to not, and be aware of not bumping into others, just getting out of trouble. With everything that's happening right now around the world, you can see that things happen in any town, anywhere, at any time. The idea, whether it's inside of a car or in a public place, is to get yourself in a safe place. And that's how you think. The way you think is what's going to get you home. So I think we'd like to talk about future ideas, scenarios, situations that anybody that would have any suggestions, correct?
Yes, Isaiah, you have a ton that you can draw from, I'm sure, so we'll keep pulling from your experiences, but if anyone else has a scenario that it has either happened to them and they would like it discussed on this series without using your name, or just an idea that comes to mind of something they wonder, what would I do in this situation, how would I stay safe, and keep it simple while I do, submit it. Comment below. You can also email us at Hoover Karate and we can just go from there.
Yeah, I mean, on one end, you know, the karate school is the physical part of self-defense, but it's also mental self-defense. And that's kind of where we're going with the idea of having, you know, both businesses kind of coming together and, you know, letting you dive into it.
Good. We'll see you in the next video.
Thank you.